Hi, we're Group 8. I'm Connor Riley.
I'm Mackenzie Throne.
And I'm Kaylee Hansen.
On May 9th, 2016, we took a private tour of the Fairfield Budweiser Brewery, as well as the Rutherford Hill Winery Cave Tour in Napa, California. On both tours, we experienced firsthand the production processes and applied a wide variety of operations management concepts. Although both facilities are part of the larger beverage industry, they greatly differ from each other in many aspects. Budweiser, the third largest brewery in the world in 2008, utilizes many just-in-time and lean principles based off of the 4 building blocks of lean operations, whereas Rutherford Hill focuses on premium quality as its competitive advantage. Quality management is another applicable topic, as both facilities have unique processes for implementing total quality management. Lastly, process selection and facility layout differ amongst Budweiser and Rutherford Hill, but each is appropriate for the products they produce. Overall, Budweiser is much leaner, but being lean is not the goal that should be pursued for other beverage products such as wine, where quality is the key distinct feature. Oftentimes within this industry, if a company is pursuing quality, they don't stress lean operations because it is already utilizing its higher margins. When pursuing quality, there are benefits of pursuing a more lean manufacturing process, but that cost must be balanced against its effect on quality. While touring both the Budweiser plant and Rutherford Hill, we were able to see 2 contrasted methods of lean operations. In today's economy, it would be nearly impossible to thrive financially without utilizing lean operations as optimally as possible. Both plants are doing what they can to minimize muda, waste, while reflecting their individual goals. Ultimately, both Budweiser and Rutherford Hill are doing everything they can to create a system where supply is matched to customer demand as smoothly as possible to minimize issues experienced by the customer and the company. Starting at Budweiser, their lean efforts were visible at many points of the manufacturing process that we were able to experience on our tour. Since Budweiser does not simply produce just one beer, they have to incorporate flexibility to be able to produce their diversified offerings and maximize their market share. Their product offerings include maximizing the number of products they make while also minimizing lean operations. That would oversimplify lean operations. If the methods are effectively implemented, Budweiser can optimally manage their products, allowing for greater market share and profit while producing an optimal efficiency. As we toured in the beginning of May, we were able to see cans being made and filled for the 4th of July, as they only fulfill orders once ordered 2 to 3 months in advance. This does change slightly for large events that drastically impact demand, such as the Super Bowl and national holidays, but those spikes are planned for year after year. Other than these holidays, Budweiser minimizes the amount of work in progress and inventory that they have on site. The beer only takes 3 days to brew, which allows Budweiser to produce for quality and freshness. This process allows for minimal inventory to be stored, allowing them to minimize their storage costs and plant sizes, even though they are producing over 4.4 million barrels a year at the Fairfield location. Even with production at such a high value, Budweiser has been recognized for their commitment to the environment. In 2011, the Budweiser Fairfield plant was named the Green Plant of the Year as they achieved their goal to stand out as one of the greenest breweries in the country. On property, we were able to see one of their large wind turbines that generate sustainable and renewable energy for their plant. This wind turbine, along with others located on their property, generate over 20% of the brewery's electricity, with goals to increase that number in the years to come. In addition to the wind turbines, the Fairfield plant is using solar panels to generate sustainable energy. Beyond their use of energy, Budweiser is also using a bioenergy recovery system so that all the energy that is used in the plant is done so optimally. They have a 99.6% recycling rate in the brewing and packaging process, reusing the beechwood chips they use in the brewing process, in addition to recycling cardboard and grain. Not only are they greening their plant by using more sustainable energy sources, but they are minimizing their waste on site and trying to reuse or repurpose as much of their resources as possible. This is certainly a customer valued principle, but also aids Budweiser in being lean and minimizing costs as resources such as energy or raw materials are no longer wasted in the brewing process. Budweiser values their employees greatly. They honor the value of treating workers as assets within their company, and that was clearly communicated to us on our tour. One of the ways we saw this was in their warehouse, which looked like a lot of dead space. After a few questions, we realized that this area was used for employee recreation that included a mini putt-putt green, a ping-pong table, and beer that employees are allowed to take home at a rate that increases as their duration at the company does. While safety is a top priority, the care of employees goes much farther than simply getting the job done well. The key portions of lean manufacturing at Budweiser are product design, process design, personnel, organizational elements, and elements of manufacturing planning and control. One way that Budweiser implements product design is through standardized parts. While the product offerings are certainly different for each beer, they require a very similar manufacturing process. Once the beer has been brewed to their different specifications, the bottling and processing is streamlined from there. This allows for greater production speed and efficiency. Regarding process design, Budweiser keeps lot sizes small and based off orders, so that there is minimal inventory that is going to be stored for a long period of time. They also have a flexible production system because they are adapting to multiple types of beers being produced on any given day. Workers being treated as assets is a key element of personnel and organizational elements, as well as continuous improvement programs that are taking place as well. As they continue to brew better beer, refine their systems for less waste, and optimize supply to meet demand, they will continue to thrive as a company. As we have already discussed, manufacturing planning and control is evident through the pull systems that Budweiser has as beer is produced based on orders. The beer is not brewed until orders are made, with some pull taking place around holidays that have an increase in demand. While the pull portion may not be optimal in light of lean production systems, Budweiser is prioritizing the demand of their customers during those seasons of the year to maximize sales and the quality of their product. Rutherford Hill Winery is a contrast to Budweiser's production in many ways. While quality is certainly a driving factor for Budweiser, it is the defining mark of success for Rutherford Hill. If their quality drops, the waste in their production process certainly matters, but pales in comparison to a poor product offering. In regards to their wine, it is of the utmost importance that the quality is maintained and improved at all costs, including that of being efficient. That does not mean that minimizing waste is insignificant. Paired with a high-quality product and minimal waste, Rutherford Hill has the opportunity for sustained success. There is certainly a great amount of waste associated with the winemaking process that is inevitable. Grapes are tasted, and if they are not up to standards, they are not used and allowed in that year, or later on, the plant will take them out of the vineyard if it has not improved. This waste certainly adds up, but a poor tasting wine being produced will waste an even greater amount of resources if produced and did not sell. Rutherford Hill is optimizing small lot sizes in their process design, as each batch of wine is produced seasonally and is limited to the amount of grapes that were harvested. Due to the unpredictability of weather and the inability to control when grapes are ripe, the winery also has to be incredibly flexible. They have bottling on site, which provides them a great amount of control when the grapes need to be harvested, stored, and then quickly bottled for optimal freshness. The detriment of having bottling on site is that it uses a great amount of resources for a very limited period of time during the year. A way that this process could be improved would be by using a mobile bottling company that would provide all the materials needed to bottle the wine when needed during the season. However, if many wineries are in need of bottling and the high demand is not met with the necessary supply, the cost of not being able to bottle the wines could be too great a risk to take. So while there are certainly improvements that can be made in Rutherford Hill's production, they are all worthy of the compromise due to the nature and quality of the product being produced. While we were visiting the winery, we encountered many employees, including our tour guide, Darlene. She shared with us how employees are able to take home wine as an employee benefit, as well as the company parties that are thrown to celebrate and honor the work of employees. This work can be incredibly seasonal, as employees flood the fields when the wine needs to be harvested and bottled, with a large waiting game occurring in between. Yet it is still essential for employees to feel valued throughout this process, and the wines would not be possible without the hands of all those involved. Rutherford Hill clearly honors and values their employees, treating them as an asset in themselves, as they certainly are. Tours like Darlene's feed the wine club revenue that they offer and allow for a positive association to be made with their product. Building up a positive association with the Rutherford Hill brand is essential for their long-term success while competing against hundreds of other wineries. Regarding manufacturing, planning, and control, the wine industry does not allow much flexibility for lean operations. Due to the variable nature of the grapes, wineries are incredibly dependent on their harvest and the type of weather the grapes experienced. Because of the sensitivity of their product, they are not able to have a pull system that is dependent on demand. If the harvest was incredibly successful with amazing grapes, the demand would certainly increase for the higher quality product. Yet if the grapes are more bitter or sour, less wine will be made, and the demand for the lower quality product will decrease as well. Unfortunately, there is not much Rutherford Hill can do to improve the quality of the grapes other than maximize the fields with grapes that are consistently producing well and being quick to uproot the bad seeds. Rutherford Hill is devoted to being a green and sustainable winery, with increasing importance as the drought in California continues. They are committed to sustainable farming and green practices that are implemented across all of their operations. One way that this is implemented is by their winery being completely powered by solar power. Their energy efficiency allows for them to cut costs, especially when their demand for water cannot change as the grapes need to be watered at consistent intervals. While they are certainly dependent upon weather systems, they can offset that variability with their energy being sustained in sunny California. In addition, they use a high-tech water monitoring system so that they measure vine water use, so that they do not over or underuse water. From 2013 to 2015, there was an 82% decrease in energy usage in the Napa Valley from water pump improvements alone. This is an excellent example of lean operations regarding their devotion to be as green of a winery as possible. Beyond energy and efficiency, Rutherford Hill is devoted to other eco-friendly initiatives as well. They do not apply sulfur, which saves beneficial insects on their fields, and they use modern compounds that only affect mildew sores, nothing else, in the aging process. One of the most unique features of Rutherford Hill was the investment they made to build caves to store their wine instead of using a warehouse. This was a great financial investment, but they were able to make their money back in roughly 5 years due to the waste that was eliminated. When wine is stored in a warehouse, roughly a case of wine, 12 bottles, are lost due to evaporation caused by fluctuating temperatures. In a cave, temperatures are maintained and steady naturally regardless of the outward environment. Due to this, Rutherford Hill saves almost a case of wine because their evaporation is only 1 to 3 bottles of wine now due to the caves. Investments like these aid Rutherford Winery and other wineries in becoming more lean, but at a great cost.
It's essential for both Budweiser and Rutherford Hill Winery to maintain high-quality management standards and processes, to maintain a reputable brand image, and minimize unnecessary costs. The key quality factors in the beverage industry include consistently meeting customer expectations, reliability, and perceived quality. This applies to not only the consistency and quality of the ingredients, but also the concept of total quality management in every step of the production process. Budweiser's 130-year-old formula for ingredient procurement and production processes emphasize tradition and maintaining high-quality standards. As seen on multiple banners throughout the Fairfield plant, Budweiser's goal is to sustain its top 3 performance objectives in an injury-free workplace. For example, these performance objectives are to sustain 90% plant FISChem score, to become the top-ranked brewery in North American zone for consumer complaints, and to achieve 100% of the plant micro target. Specific quality standards are largely apparent throughout the facility, especially along the assembly lines. For example, Line 40's top performance objectives included to achieve 93% line efficiency and to maintain a rate of less than 4 cans lost per 1,000 cans filled. While on tour, we witnessed the red flashing light alarm a floor supervisor that a can had fallen off of the machinery. He immediately stopped the production line to remove the cans nearby, and within 30 seconds, the line was up and running again. This demonstrated the importance of quality management in the form of controlling quality to allow for the reduction of waste, which is essential in an increasingly competitive industry with thin margins. Another applicable aspect of total quality management is using a team approach. In Budweiser's case, this is manifested through its Brewery Excellence program aimed at improving means and results. It is comprised of monthly goal setting and rankings compared to the 11 other U.S. plants in regards to safety. Safety procedures are clearly stated throughout the facility in the form of banners to remind employees of safety precautions. Our tour guide noted the incentive that all employees receive a free case of beer at the end of the month if there are no injuries in the facility. Overall, Budweiser engages the total quality management elements of employee empowerment through open goal setting for a continuous improvement, as well as using a team approach in competition with the other facilities and in team-based incentive programs. In terms of the quality assurance of the ingredients themselves, there are strict and standardized processes put in place to ensure consistency and quality of each ingredient. There are 5 key ingredients in each can of Budweiser, and the company insists on only using the finest raw materials from different parts of the country. The barley malt, which is the soul or backbone of flavor for the beer, is sourced from Anheuser-Busch's barley fields in Idaho and Montana. The second key ingredient, rice, which gives the beer its crispness, comes from various locations in the United States, primarily the facility in Arkansas. The third key ingredient is hops, which gives the beer its spice. The hops come from the company's Idaho fields. Yeast, which gives beer its fullness, is sourced from St. Louis. The final key ingredient is water, which Budweiser ensures is as pure and clean as possible, so that it does not add any flavor to the beer. Since each facility receives its water from different local sources, it is filtered multiple times to exact standards and is widely considered the purest water in any industry. In regards to the water use in the supply chain, especially due to the severe California drought, brewing operations are exposed to increased supply chain risks, and therefore Budweiser needs to continually address local water concerns. Anheuser-Busch is focused on the TQM element of establishing continuous improvement programs through developing the technological innovation of experimenting with flood watering systems to center pivot systems that improve on-crop efficiency, as well as toying with new ways to capture soil moisture data that can help farmers more effectively schedule their irrigation. Since water is an essential aspect in every step of the supply chain, the risk factor of water security is becoming a larger issue within quality management for Budweiser, and they must be constantly responding to environmental conditions that affect this key ingredient. The article also discussed issues of agriculture efficiency with another key ingredient, barley. Volatile weather patterns, droughts, and crop disease are all factors that are leading to instability in the barley supply chain. Budweiser is affected not only because this can lead to unstable prices and availability of the barley, but also the company must address the TQM element of supplier quality programs. Specifically, a Bud Lab at the University of Illinois has been enlisted to help develop statistical methods that correlate climate, soil, topography, quality, and smart barley data, identifying to make the best barley malt. Overall, quality concerning key ingredients is a major issue for Budweiser and the rest of the beer industry, so maintaining continuous improvement programs and supplier quality programs are essential investments to keep developing. Inspection in high-volume applications is often automated and more reliable, so human inspection in these situations is more expensive and can be less reliable. The Fairfield plant does not host a central command center with computers, or it does host a central command center with computers monitoring the brewing process. However, Budweiser also insists on sticking to its tradition of employing special brewmasters to ensure that the beer is conforming to its expectations. They are regarded as the guardians of quality and taste every batch of beer and every step of the month-long process to confirm consistency and drinkability. Every day at 3 o'clock p.m., Budweiser arrives to St. Louis from all 12 U.S. breweries for the brewmasters to sample. Another example of when Budweiser sacrifices cost for tradition is during its beechwood chip procedure. These chips are placed at the bottom of the lager tanks as a secondary fermentation technique. Our tour guide noted that although the beechwood aging technique adds extra cost to the process compared to the other breweries infusing synthetic materials in its fermentation stage, it is part of the Budweiser tradition. The main costs associated with quality management include appraisal costs, which is the cost of inspection and testing, which we saw with Budweiser's inspection and testing room, prevention costs, which include training and defect prevention, which is necessary for Budweiser to invest in for maximum effectiveness, and failure costs. These can include internal failure costs before the product reaches the consumer, for example, the production disruption that we witnessed during the tour where the line had to be stopped and the floor employee had to remove the cans before restarting the line. They can also include external failure costs, which are costs associated with the repair of or replacing products or reputation damage after the product has reached the customer. Failure costs need to be minimized as much as possible because they are associated with poor quality and can damage the reputation of the company if there are product defects or recalls with the beer. For Rutherford Hill, one factor that makes quality management difficult is that global supply chains often involve multiple supply chain partners from various distant locations. However, in the case of Rutherford Hill Winery, most of the production process takes place in-house or nearby, starting with the local growing of the grapes in the Napa Valley. Depending on the nature of the wine, they will acquire grapes from more northern or southern vineyards in the valley that distinctly differ in terms of temperature and humidity conditions. Prior to its founding in 1972, the grape growers meticulously evaluated the region's geography to take best advantage of its climate and soil conditions as to most closely resemble that of the Pomerol region in Bordeaux. As soon as the Toledo family purchased Rutherford Hill Winery, they established a modern facility to better produce reserved wines and for aging and storage quality control purposes. This 5,100 square foot facility, containing 24 fermentation tanks, is self-contained, and its cave features allow for natural refrigeration year-round. Oak barrels age in the 59-degree Fahrenheit conditions with 90% humidity, which is ideal for reduction in the evaporation of the wine. Most wineries typically lose an average of 1 case of wine, equivalent to 12 bottles per batch, produced due to the evaporation and fluctuating temperatures, whereas Rutherford Hill only loses an average of 1 to 3 bottles per batch. Additionally, the facility recycles its French oak barrels so they can be used in the making of 3 batches of wine. This means that the oak infuses less flavor each time. As a result of this, they have to taste test each batch for quality and consistency purposes. The sommelier blends the wines and taste tests the finished products to confirm they are up to Rutherford Hill standards. Additionally, red wines have specific percentages they must meet or exceed to be considered a certain type of wine. Thus, these specialists are experts in tracking the source of every drop that enters each bottle. Their employees are given a lot of power to change the recipes and processes they believe would best improve their wines. By maintaining a high-quality reputation, Rutherford Hill wines are able to be sold at premium prices, translating to higher profits. They must harvest the grapes at a precise time of year because there is a very short peak of window time that varies each year. Thus, the grape pickers must constantly monitor the quality of the grapes to ensure the best quality. They taste the grapes on the trees and hand-mark each plant if the grapes are not up to par. Due to the smaller size of the plant, the sommeliers and winemakers are able to make more changes without sacrificing quality standards or having to implement large-scale process improvements that would disrupt the standardized production. Comparatively, Budweiser's mass production process is much more standardized. In the wine industry, however, this is not possible, so the process must be closely monitored and involves much more human control rather than machinery when it comes to the grapes, bottles, corks, and barrels. Furthermore, Rutherford Hill is unique in the sense that they bottle their own wines in-house. This practice is typically unusual for wineries because it requires a large amount of capital investment for a once-a-year harvest. At the same time, they are not dependent on a middleman or separate supplier, since they have the resources and the capital to bottle in-house, they can essentially control the entire winemaking process. Each varietal of wine is priced differently. For example, we tasted wines ranging from $47 to $67 a bottle, whereas Budweiser maintains year-round standardized processes which result in small variations in product pricing. Both sites implement a culture of TQM, but in very different ways, each appropriate for their products. Specifically, Budweiser exercises continuous improvement processes in the form of improving the efficiency and effectiveness of these processes. Due to the fluctuating nature of winemaking, Rutherford Hills adapts to the surrounding conditions and employs world-class experts to strive for continual quality improvement. The food and beverage industry experiences a pull between the opposing forces of efficiency and quality. Companies stress effective supply chain management while also work to deliver high-quality products to its consumers. The challenge is to design a plan to reconcile these seemingly contradictory goals and link the manufacturing quality to efficiency in the supply chain to produce quality products manufactured efficiently. Reasons for this challenge exist especially in larger organizations because quality standards are not often as visible to senior level management unless there is a clear culture of quality that permeates down the organization and through all supply chain channels. This argument supports our thesis regarding the trade-off between lean operations and quality. While they are not certainly exclusive, for example, Budweiser runs very lean operations at its facility while also adhering to strict quality control measures, we did find that both plants had a different balance of the two forces. In the large organization of Budweiser, it's difficult to communicate and enforce stringent quality measures at all times, as mentioned in the white paper. On the other hand, Rutherford Hill's operations are not nearly as streamlined due to the nature of variability in the winemaking and the smaller size of its facility. Instead, it stresses higher quality products at the expense of achieving the leanest operations possible.
Companies that provide a product such as a beverage on a medium or large scale depend heavily on the process selection and facility layout. The three drivers that need to be analyzed when deciding which process selection to apply to manufacturing are variety, flexibility, and volume. Applying the proper manufacturing process comes from understanding the extent of the product's needs in regards to the three process drivers. Another crucial factor in the manufacturing process is maximizing efficiency by designing the proper facility layout based off of the product line. Consequently, beverage companies that are delivering different types of products to specific target markets will warrant different levels of variety, flexibility, and volume. Therefore, the differences in process selection and facility layout we observe are indicative of the differing demands of the product line in regards to their variety, flexibility, and volume. When we visited Budweiser Brewery, we got a first-hand observation of the proper process selection and facility layouts to apply to a product with a certain level of variety, flexibility, and volume. The Budweiser product line held at the Fairfield location consisted strictly of canned beers. Due to the production costs and regional demands, the Fairfield Brewery had decided to specialize in producing only cans, but several different varieties of beer in different sizes. Therefore, the Fairfield Budweiser Brewery had an above-average level of variety. It was a single style of product, but with several different variations within it. The production schedule was based around a made-to-order system, where they produce exactly as demanded from an order placed 2 to 3 months in advance. However, production of the beer is done on a volume base, but the most variety comes from canning the beer into different sizes. Since the end product ends up being a specific can, the machinery necessary to fill these cans is very specific and inflexible to other functions. Finally, the automation and assembly lines of the machinery led to very high volume potential, which the brewery chose to capitalize on. The process type that fits best with this demand and conditions of the Fairfield Brewery specializing in canned products would be a repetitive process of manufacturing. They produce high volumes but in fairly standardized assembly and production lines, and the production lines are inflexible due to specialized automation. Canning the beer is half the process with producing beer. Brewing it directly is the other key element of the manufacturing process with Budweiser. The process necessary to brew beer requires a lot of space and several different stages. The following picture identifies several different steps in brewing beer. The process includes 9 different stages with 5 different ingredients being added in the process. Due to how extensive it is, departmental layout is the most logical layout for the needs in the process of brewing canned beer. Budweiser Fairfield decided to meet their regional demands near the Bay Area for canned beer, and this was the best product line to employ and maximize revenues while minimizing costs. They still filled bottled beer orders, however, they outsourced brewing and bottling to another Budweiser brewery. Process selection and facility layout at the Fairfield Budweiser Brewery accurately applied to the manufacturing of the product based off of the regional demands and management decisions for Budweiser. Rutherford Hill Winery gave us a different perspective of manufacturing methods of a company present within the same industry. While they produced another alcoholic beverage, Rutherford Hill's target market was a completely different market share within the industry, and thus showed us how different levels of variety, variability, and volume of a product can change the manufacturing process. Wineries in general tend to produce and bottle wine in a unique manufacturing schedule. Since they are harvesting a crop, their production schedule first begins with a seasonal structure. However, the process does not feel seasonal because producing one bottle of wine can take a significant amount of time, usually months. The process of bottling wine has a high level of variety due to the differences in each barrel of wine produced. Making wine is oftentimes a unique mixture of primarily finite options of ingredients, which leads to a high degree of variability as well. Finally, due to the specialization found in most barrels of wine, wineries such as Rutherford Hill tend to value quality over quantity, and therefore do not produce high volumes of wine. While we find the process of manufacturing that Rutherford Hill employs to be a batch-based process, we also find characteristics of the process that is repetitive. While the winery's production quantities often are batch-based due to different flavors of wine, the process itself has specialized equipment with low flexibility for functionality. Therefore, we believe that Rutherford Hill is a mixture of batch and repetitive process. Since bottling wine can take several months, and a lot of the process includes aging the wine, the only logical facility layout style would be departmental as well. The winery chose to target the market of customers who value taste and quality and are willing to pay more for it. This warrants for greater attention and care given to the process and would therefore lead to a batch-style manufacturing. The direct experiences of witnessing the manufacturing styles of 2 different companies within the same industry clearly illustrated to our group the importance of the demand of the customers within their target market. Each company structures their entire facility and manufacturing structure around the aspects of the demand of their customers. We saw that both companies were experiencing success, and a lot of this is due to the efficiency of the organization and their manufacturing processes. While these 2 companies share a lot of similarities, the value of this project became evident in their differences. They both, however, are examples of success that come from proper attention to their customer demands. After analyzing 2 separate and successful firms in the beverage industry, we were able to recognize a key insight in the manufacturing process. The manufacturing process and structure is highly dependent on the demand present in the market firm that is targeted. We observed Budweiser, a large-scale brewery that delivers high quantities of products to consumers with fairly inelastic tendency of demand. Budweiser, who chose to prioritize just-in-time and lean operations, which gives them their competitive advantage within a dense market of suppliers. Achieving optimal production metrics in their manufacturing lead to their competitive advantage and greater profits. They marry their operations with quality standards to further set themselves apart and use the most applicable process selection and facility layout to maximize their efficiency. Budweiser recognized their position in their target market, and they realized that this would allow them to flourish if they were able to produce large quantities of beer at the fastest rate possible while maintaining specific standards of quality. Rutherford Hill made the same analysis, and they found that they could flourish in their target market if they prioritized quality. Their customers have a much higher willingness to pay, provided that quality comes along with the higher processes. Thus, pursuing just-in-time and lean operations is not as impactful in Rutherford Hill because it will not translate as effectively to profit based off of